Hey guys, if you liked what you just listened to, then please like and share this across all social media platforms, and subscribe to the channel while you're at it, whether that's on YouTube, BitChute, Dailymotion, etc. Make sure to follow MetrObelisk Radio at the social media links in the description, that way you can stay up to date when the newest episodes go up. If you have any topic suggestion for MetrObelisk Radio to cover, then please leave them in the comments. If I use your suggestion for a future episode, I will give you a shout out during that particular episode. With all of that said, have a great day, and I will see you guys next week. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MetrObelisk Radio. Today we are going to be looking at Survivor Borneo, the very first season of Survivor that aired 20 years ago as of May 31st of this year, 2020. This season would go on to launch a franchise that is still around to this day. So the ultimate question I'm going to be looking to explore is, does the season still hold up compared to the rest of them, which is seasons, 2 to 39, or is this just better left in the past? How this retrospective is going to work is first we're going to judge the location, which will make up 15% of the overall score. Then we're going to talk about the challenges, which will make up another 15% of the overall score. Then we'll look at the cast assessment, and that will make up 40% of the overall score. Then going into the subjective category, which is the rewatchability of this season, which that will be 30% of the overall score. And finally going into the final overall score for the season. So without further ado, let's get right into this retrospective. To start things off, let's take a look at the location. The location for this season was Pulau Tiga, which is actually a small island just off of the coast of Borneo that was more known for the mud volcanoes. The tribe beaches, both Pagong and Tagi, are distinguishable from one another. Pagong was a lot more open with the forest surrounding them, while Tagi was basically more of a beachhead with the forest behind them. The shelters had to be built in two separate areas to accommodate Pagong had to be more in the forest because of the openness of their beach. When it rained, it poured. Obviously, there's nothing to stop it. It's like standing in the middle of a valley with 40-mile-an-hour winds. Yes, I have been there. But the opposite actually happened on Tagi, where they actually could keep their shelter on the beach because they had all those trees acting as a canopy. So with Pulau Tiga being in the South China Sea, the weather could obviously get very brutal, going from 100-degree plus weather to torrential downpours, all the way back up to 95 plus degrees, all within a single day. Tropical storms were becoming more and more normal as time moved on. Even at one point, Richard Hatch admitted to just sleeping right through the rainstorms, even though they were all getting drenched during them. The jungle itself was also getting to be very unforgiving, even going so far as to showing all the scuffs and cuts that the contestants were getting. Colleen getting the worst of it because both of her legs were just covered in nothing but bug bites and scrapes and just missing chunks of skin. So finally, the tribal council area this season was very basic, but that's okay with Borneo being the very first season. You're not going to knock it out of the park the first time. All they had were basically just the seats in front of the fire pit and later the jury bench right across from that. They also used to store the torches at the tribal council area for those voted out. So the overall score that I'm actually giving the location for this season is an 8 out of 10. So next up in this retrospective is the challenges. And to do this in a nutshell, the challenges were very good, and not just for a first season. You could tell that production didn't have a whole lot to work with in terms of budget, so they just had to make do with what they had. My favorite challenges from this season definitely were the shooting competition with blow darts, a slingshot, and a spear. They also had an archery competition, was pretty good. There's another one where they ran to an older building from the Second World War, and they had to find a pocket knife, a World War II Army helmet, and a can opener. Then there's another one where they had to run through an obstacle course that was designed by the Green Berets. And finally, the SOS challenge, where both tribes had to make an SOS signal that can be seen from the air. If we're going to talk about challenges, there's only two I really did not like this season. The first one being it's the one where they had to step on the red squares, and if there were no more of them, they were out. I just found this one too overdrawn out and too boring. With the exception of Rudy winning the individual immunity. The second challenge being my absolute least favorite, and this has been true of all of Survivor, is the Final Four challenge, where it's a trivia contest about the other contestants called Fallen Comrades. The biggest reason I don't like this challenge is because this has the most potential to be rigged. Production can rig that challenge any way they want to and in any direction they want to go in as well. It can be as simple as, who is this person, where are they from, what do they do, all the way down to something specific like, what is this person's dog's name, or whose shirt is this. If production really didn't want a certain individual to make it any further beyond this point, then this would be the place where they could easily take them out and have plausible deniability and just say, hey, that's just the name of the game. Whereas they can't as easily do it if it's someone bouncing on a beam or someone making fire from the same materials that everyone else has. So overall, I give the challenges from this season a 9 out of 10. I'm dinging a point just because of that Fallen Comrades challenge. So without further ado, let's get right into the cast assessment. This season obviously starts out with 16 people, so that's 2 tribes of 8, and at least half of this cast is likable in my opinion. My favorites from this season on Pagong were definitely Gretchen, Greg, Jervis, and Colleen. And my favorites from the Tagi tribe definitely were Sue Hawk, Rudy, Kelly Wigglesworth, and even Richard Hatch. No one else is really unlikable, they're just there. And the benefit to a season like this, where there's only 16 people, is you do get to know the entire cast by episode 3. The only really notable alliance this season was the Tagi 4, which consisted of Sue Hawk, Richard Hatch, Rudy, and Kelly. Everyone else did try to make alliances, but by the time they did, it was too little too late. One of the more notable exceptions is that Colleen tried to make a Pagong alliance with Jenna Lewis and Jervis, but that very quickly fell apart after just one tribal council. There were no really big feuds this season other than Sue versus Kelly by the end, but that one really didn't last too long. I mean, obviously it's very well known that Richard Hatch is the very first winner of Survivor, but in my opinion, the runner-up of this game should have won, and I really don't want to go into it any further because I don't want to spoil this season for any of you guys, for anyone that wants to actually go through and watch it. So with that out of the way, the cast assessment, I give it an overall score of a 9 out of 10. It's a pretty good cast, but I think the casts do get a little better over time, but this one definitely holds up. Now we get into the final subcategory of this retrospective, and that's the rewatchability of this season. And it is very high for me personally. I do believe that it's aged very well given the fact that there was no blueprint in how to win the game back then. That makes it a lot more enjoyable because theoretically, anyone who played the game in Borneo could have won. Anyone who says that this season has aged poorly are, in my opinion, people who became fans after Survivor Philippines, which was season 25, or people who only watched the last 10 seasons, so that'd be seasons 30 to 39. Now, full disclosure on my end, I started watching when Survivor Amazon went on the air back in 2003. That was season 6, and I was 6 going on 7 at the time. So to get back to it, it's fun to go back and watch a group of people that can't just rely on hidden immunity idol here, legacy advantage over there, and vote steal over yonder. The game was much harder because you had to adapt to the people around you instead of playing all these advantages that are now given out like Halloween candy. So the overall score on rewatchability is a solid 10 out of 10. So with that out of the way, let's get right into the final overall score. The final overall score, after we do all the math, comes out to a 9.1 out of 10. This is a very solid season, even though it is the very first. Everything had to be more creative as a result. The cast was very solid and very memorable. All around, everything that fans are asking Survivor to go back to is here if that's what you genuinely want to watch. The game was clearly a lot harder to win back then because of the lack of any blueprint on how to win the game and the lack of any advantages other than food rewards and the tribal/individual immunities. This game was all about adapt, improvise, overcome, and this season had it all there. Don't listen to anyone telling you that this hasn't aged well. Watch Survivor Borneo for yourself and be your own judge. Hey guys, if you liked what you just listened to, then please like and share this across all social media platforms, and subscribe to the channel while you're at it, whether that's on YouTube, BitChute, Dailymotion, etc. Make sure to follow MetrObelisk Radio at the social media links in the description, that way you can stay up to date when the newest episodes go up. If you have any topic suggestion for MetrObelisk Radio to cover, then please leave them in the comments. If I use your suggestion for a future episode, I will give you a shout out during that particular episode. With all of that said, have a great day, and I will see you guys next week.